Your waistline, your bank account, the intimacy that you have or don't have in your personal relationships is nothing but the accumulated compound effect of the choices you've made up to this moment. Now, I have been charged to help ignite the principles of the compound effect into your life, to grow your business, to jumpstart your income, to jumpstart your life, and to jumpstart your success. So now I have to tell you, first off, when sitting down to write the compound effect, it was never intended that it would become the international bestseller that it did. In fact, when I first sat down with it, I was the publisher of Success Magazine, editorial director. So it was my job to try to figure out what was going on in our culture and society. What was blocking people from realizing their true potential? And so when I started to look around at our culture and our society, the more I watched what was happening, the more mad and angry and upset I became. And the reason is that we are constantly bombarded with ever increasingly sensational claims to get fit, to get younger, to get sexier, all overnight with very little effort for only 3 easy payments of $39.95. And these marketing gimmickry messages are taking people who have a sincere interest to do better, to become more, and to contribute better to their family, and it's taking them for fools. It's bamboozling them. It's derailing them from their progress constantly as they try to do more and contribute more. And so I just had it. I wanted to clear the clutter, demystify the truth, and bring us back to the core fundamentals of what it really takes to succeed. And so here's the reality that we have to clear out first off. There is no silver bullet. There is no magic pill. And for God's sakes, people, there is no friggin' secret that has been buried for 2,000 years by some covert society that was dug up and given worldwide revelation. And so now, here's what you can do. You can just sit on your couch and just imagine checks coming into your mailbox through the law of attraction. Are you kidding me? If you do that too long, they will come and take your couch and probably you off to a rubber room with a jacket with no sleeves so that you can protect yourself and from others. There is no secret to success. Here's what it comes down to. Here is the hard, brutal truth that you have to get your arms around. Success is nothing but hard freaking work. You see, the truth about the process of earning success is this, that the process is mundane. What you have to do day in and day out to build your business, that process is mundane, right? Sharing the product, sharing the opportunity, doing 3-way calls, bringing people to meetings, schlepping your stuff back and forth. That process is mundane. It is unexciting. Nobody's going to film you doing your business day in and day out and create a new reality TV show that's going to be riveting. No, it's unexciting. It is unsexy, no matter how you try to edit it. And it is often laborious, if not frustrating, and oftentimes gut-kickingly, heart-stompingly defeating. You see, but that doesn't make for interesting books and exciting infomercials and riveting movies. So the world around us gives us all these images otherwise in order to try to tantalize the weakest part of our nature. What is that? Something for nothing. The quick fix, the shortcut, right? The 10-point formula to riches. But all of that is untrue. You see, the first message I want to give all of you here is stop looking for the quick fix to your success, to your happiness, and to your wealth. I know that we are all compelled, we are all tantalized at the idea that there is some sort of quick fix, but I'm telling you, it is a marketing gambit. It is commercialism that is trying to tantalize the weakest part of your nature. Stop it. Understand that it is hard work. So here's my goal. Okay, I do want to give you a process, that process that I talked about, that will enable you to achieve goals that you were even too afraid to set before we started here today. That over the next 12 to 36 months, as we look back on this moment, the person that is sitting in your chair right now will be unrecognizable. You'll be unrecognizable to your kids, to your spouse, to the other partners that you have. And most importantly, I want you to be unrecognizable to your banker because of the results that you've created, because you decided to do something about changing the trajectory of your success starting right now. So what I want to talk to you about first off is where this all is stemmed from. What is the control root factor for all the results and success that you have in your life? What's one thing, if we were to take the entire library of self-improvement, personal growth and development, business development and success books, and bring it down to one principle, what's the root control factor? Here's what it is. Now, understand that we all come into this world exactly the same. Naked, scared, and ignorant. Some of us a little uglier than others. You should see my baby pictures, but yet we all start out exactly the same. Naked, scared, and ignorant. So after that grand entrance, what is the one thing that's going to determine all the results in your life? All the success that you will ever realize, the lifestyle that you will live. It all comes down to one thing. What is that one thing? What is the one thing that determines whether you end up living here or you end up living here? It's only going to be one thing that's going to determine whether you end up driving this or whether you end up driving this. All results are going to come down to one thing to determine whether you end up at the end of a long life broke, lonely, and despondent, or in a marriage of 50 plus years of incredible intimacy and bliss. One thing's going to determine whether you get to send your children and grandchildren to the greatest universities in the world to provide them a field of opportunity in their future, or one thing's going to determine that you can't send your kids or grandkids to college, no matter what it is that they qualified for, because you can't afford to send them. One thing's going to determine whether you get to donate to your favorite charity, to your greatest heart content, or whether you get to travel in 5-star luxury. As Curly from City Slicker said, in life it all comes down to one thing. So, my friends, what is that one thing? It all comes down to choices. You see, right now as you sit there watching me, your entire life is nothing but the accumulated, aggregated, and compounded choices that you've made up to this point. You see, your waistline right now is nothing but the accumulated and compound effect of the choices you've made up to this point. Your bank account is nothing but the accumulated compound effect of the choices you've made up to this point. Since you came in naked, scared, and ignorant, the intimacy that you have or don't have in your personal relationships is nothing but the accumulated compound effect of the choices you've made up to this moment. So if we're going to change your trajectory, if we're going to send you on a new upward path of success, we have to start where it all begins, and it all begins with choices. So now you might be asking, all right, well, what choices? Because we're making hundreds of choices all day, every day. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. You see, how many of you have ever been bitten by an elephant? Probably not, right? Well, how about a mosquito? You see, nature provides clues. And this is that it's the little things in life that will bite you. What you're looking at there, the mosquito, is man's greatest predator. The thing that causes more human deaths than any other animal species on the planet. So it's the little things that could kill your future. And that is true as well with choices. You see, I'm asked all the time, there's 7.5 billion people on the planet. We only could put 12 people on the cover of Success Magazine per year. 12 out of 7.5 billion. So the question was, well, what did these 12 people do that the other 7.5 billion other people not do? What makes the difference between those that go on to super success and everybody else? Would you like to know the answer to that question? I've got the answer. 25 years in this industry, I know exactly what the answer is. First off, let's explain what it is not. Success is not a result of heroic feats. Nobody you've ever seen on the cover of a magazine did anything heroic. It is also not any grand act of bravery, right? We've got these myths that, you leap and you'll grow wings on the way down. No. Don't do that because you go splat and we all have to attend your funeral. No, it is not any grand act of bravery either. And it isn't any quantum leap, these overnight success stories, this person who was just in the right place at the right time. Just great fortune and good luck. That is not the case either as well. Here's what the answer is. Success is a result of small, seemingly insignificant, moment-to-moment choices. Choices like you would go to a restaurant, you're presented with a menu. Now, what is a menu? When you're given a menu, what is a menu? It is nothing but a collection of choices. And so small choices like, do you order the burger and fries or do you order the salad? Now you say, Darren, is that really a magazine cover worthy choice? And I'm telling you, it is. Small little choices like at the end of a long, hard day. Do you stop and go to the gym and work out even though you don't feel like working out? Or do you rush home to catch your favorite sitcom and lie on the couch instead? Small, seemingly insignificant choices like, in the middle of an argument, do you turn your back and walk out of the room and say, I'm not dealing with this? Or do you spin on your heels, say you're sorry even though you didn't think it was your fault, and choose to make a moment of magic? Small choices like in a networking event. Do you walk across the room and introduce yourself to that person you've always wanted to meet but have been too scared to do so? Or do you hunker in fear one more time? Small choices like you said you were going to make 3 calls. Do you make the 3 calls and do you make 2 more? Or do you just call it a day? You see, these small, seemingly insignificant choices add up to big, gargantuan differences in results. So let me show you how this plays out. Okay, we're going to take 3 friends and they're all going to start at exactly the same point. They graduated from the same university. They got married. They moved to the suburbs. They got a house, white picket fence, got a Volvo, right? Making $75,000 a year, what have you. They're all starting at exactly the same point. Now, let's take Scott here. Scott, let's say he watches a Darren Daily. You watch Darren Daily, right? And he just gets inspired to try a couple of the ideas and tips that are shared there each morning. And so here's what Scott is going to do. He's going to read 10 pages of a good book a day. Right? Just 10 pages. It's going to take him less than 30 minutes. Just 10 pages of a good book a day. He's going to listen to 30 minutes of some audio, some self-improvement, personal development, business growth audio material. Maybe while he's driving or he's working out or he's walking the dogs or he's out for a walk or he's doing his chores. Just 30 minutes, right? Net time, no extra time, just listening while he's doing something else. He's going to cut out 125 calories from his diet. Now, what is that? That's half a candy bar. That's a small bowl of cereal. Just 125 calories, no rash major diet. And he's going to drink 2 bottles of water a day. He's going to take 2,000 steps, which means what? He's going to park at the back of the parking lot and walk into the office, right? He's going to walk around the block once or twice, no big deal. And he's going to make a few more calls versus calling it a day, each day. And he's going to make his weekly date night with his spouse finally a priority. That's all Scott's going to do. That's his big New Year's resolution. I want you to look at that list and ask yourself, can you do that? Can you do what Scott is doing? Okay, let's move forward. Now, Larry is just going to keep being Larry. Larry's our status quo. And then we have Brad. Now, Brad is just going to start making seemingly insignificant, poor choices. No big deal stuff like he's going to munch on a little junk food around the office or around the house these days, right? You know, just take a half a handful of chocolate-covered peanuts. No big deal. He's going to miss a couple of workouts a week. He's going to drink Diet Coke instead of water. He's going to move around a little less. He's going to skip a prospecting call or 2, and he's going to give the cold shoulder to the spouse a few times throughout the week. Again, nothing super crazy. Nobody's going to film it. We're not going to call any protective services here. Just a cold shoulder a few times a week. Here's what I want you to start to measure. The results of these 3 friends with their slightly different behavior over time. 5 months later, absolutely no measurable difference between these 3 friends at all. You can get 10 months down the line. No measurable difference. And now you can see where Scott starts to get a little frustrated. He's like, wow, I'm making these prospecting calls. I'm doing 2,000 steps. I'm reading this book. I'm listening to this audio, right? I'm doing this dang date night with my wife, and I have the same results of my buddy. Why should I continue to do this? This is where people get faked out. But he keeps listening to Darren daily, so he keeps on the straight and narrow. So we get just 20 months down the line, and the measurable results are slight, right? Brad can start to feel it in his belt a little bit. He's got to pull it back a notch or two, right? There's been a little tension that started to set in with his workmates, a little apathy started to set in at home, right? But nothing dramatic. You can't even tell if you go out with them for dinner as a couple. It's not until you get 27 months down the line where the result differences are dramatic. Here's what it looks like. Scott now, 27 months later, he's read 47 self-improvement books. 47. Most people do not read one book all year long, and he's read 47. He's listened to 465 hours of positive instructional audio material. The 125 calories he cut out of his diet means he lost 33 and a half pounds. 125 calories. When I spent time with Dr. Oz, he said we could end obesity right now if everybody would just cut 125 calories out of their diet. They would get back to their base default weight. Just 125 calories off your base calorie intake. He drank 3,700 gallons of water. He walked 900 miles, which means he would have lost another 30 pounds. The 125 date nights with his wife, well, that got risque. We're just going to put up the X's and O's there. The extra calls that he made meant that he made 1,860 calls that his peers didn't make. If he only closed 3% of those, which means he didn't learn anything from those self-improvement books, he would have made an additional $279,000 on top of the $75,000 income that all his buddies were making. And you know what his buddies are going to say? Oh, you're so lucky, but we're going to know different. Now, Larry was just being Larry, just doing the same thing and getting more disenchanted, getting more whiny, getting more complaining, just doing the same. But now Brad, let's take a look at Brad. Small, seemingly insignificant, poor choices. Here's what's happened to Brad. That 125 calories that he added to his diet meant that he put on 33 and a half pounds. He missed a couple of workouts, more Diet Coke means more weight gain, and now he's under cardiac arrest danger. Missed a few meetings, made a few less calls. That means that he's in business and financial emergency, and that inattention and cold shoulders to the spouse means that apathy has set in, and he's on the brink of divorce, and he doesn't know what he did to get himself there. You see, small, seemingly insignificant choices in a positive direction creates massive success. Small, insignificant, poor choices creates massive failure. One choice at a time. So you might be asking, all right, well, this seems really simple, Darren. This seems really easy. So then why are there so many people failing? Why do people continue to make poor choices when it is so simple? And it seems so easy to do. Why do we keep making poor choices? Well, this is what we have to do. We have to prevent you stepping in 4 traps. And these traps are laying all throughout our society, our culture, all throughout your home, all throughout the places that you traffic in your neighborhood and around town. We have to show you where these traps are so that you stop stepping in them, because that is what's continuing to derail your progress of the compound effect. So here are the 4 traps. Number 1 is this. Your consequences of the result, your outcome of this seemingly insignificant result in the moment are invisible. So you think it doesn't have an impact, that it doesn't have an effect in your life, because in the moment, the results are invisible. But I tell you, I could change your choices like this if I had the power to take the space-time continuum, the choice you're making now, stretched out over 5, 10, 15 years, if I could take this timeline and close it and show you today, right now, in the moment, the outcome of that choice over 10, 15 years, I promise you, you would make a different choice. You see, if at that restaurant you did pick the hamburger and fries instead of the salad, if I could take the consequences of that choice on a timeline continuum and close it, let's say upon the first bite, your gut explodes, you fall to the ground in a heart attack. you'd lose the taste of hamburger real quick, right? Or let's just say the next morning you wake up like this. You went from thin and beautiful to this all of a sudden. You see, you have to ask yourself the question, how do you get like that? One bite at a time. That is the consequences over time. Let's say, take a look at this young man. Looks like a young James Dean. He's behind the school playing hooky with his buddies and starts to take his first cigarette. He's getting all this affirmation as a rebel, right, from his bros. But what if I could take this person's choice right now, behind the school, stretch it out over 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, and have his future self come and talk to his current self? To take his future self to talk to his current self. What do you think his future self would say? Put it down now. So I'm here in San Diego coming to you, and this is one of our local heroes here, right? Tony Gwynn, maybe one of the purest hitters to ever play the game of baseball. Because of his career, we have this beautiful stadium in downtown San Diego. So he joined the San Diego Padres in 1981. And that was also the same year that he started chewing tobacco, 1981. Now, Tony went on to have an illustrious career. Again, one of the greatest hitters to ever play the game of baseball. And 20 years later, he decides that he's going to retire. Perfect season, and he retires. And then he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame unanimously, same year that Cal Ripken Jr. was in the Hall of Fame. Then he goes on to coach his alma mater, San Diego State University here, for another 12 years. Now here's what you have to understand. We are now 33 years down the line. And Tony Gwynn, chewing tobacco, is seeing no consequence to that choice. He has no ill effects whatsoever to chewing tobacco. It's not until 30 years later he is diagnosed with lip cancer. And 3 years later, this is the last known photo of Tony Gwynn, because at the tender age of 54, he's dead. You see, for 30 years, he saw no visible evidence of the consequence to that choice. It was just like this. And it wasn't until those last 3 or 4 years that the massive impact of that choice over time was made visible. That's how the effects of the compound effect work in your life. So the second trap that we have to help you avoid is that when you change your trajectory to go into a new direction for your life, for your health, for your business, for your income, the change in trajectory is subtle and deceptive. It's kind of like being on a plane that's headed across the country. Let's say you're going to go 3,000 miles across the country. If the nose of that plane is off by only 1%, and I'm talking from here to here. Did you see that? From here to here. Meaning not very much. From here to here. See? Not very much. But if you get 3,000 miles across the country, you will end up 150 miles off your intended target. You will end up in the United States 2 states away. And this is what happens in people's lives. They get 10, 15 years down the line and they go, how did I get so fat? I don't remember indulging or binging. Or they get to the end of 10 to 15 years and they're served divorce papers and they go, the soulmate, the person I said forever, sickness and in health. How did this happen? They might not have made any colossal bad choice. It might have just been being off by 1%. Traveled over the 3,000 miles or traveled over the 10 or 15 years, and now you're 150 miles off your intended target. So just like what a plane needs as it travels across, it needs what's called a gyroscope or a compass that will continue to get it back on track. So no matter what happens in the sky, there's weather, they're rerouted, right? They have to go around clouds. It continues to lock in on their intended target. You also need a compass. You also need a gyroscope for your life because you will get blown off course. The key is to not drift off the course that you are pushed, but to then get back on. Third trap is this: immediate gratification. And boy, oh boy, is this a big one in our current culture and society. We want what we want, when we want it, and we want it now. We are so addicted to pleasuring ourselves at every single moment. This need for immediate gratification. And we are bombarded with constant solicitations on our weakest part of our nature. We are tantalized with this seduction to make the poor choices, whether it's coming from social media, whether it's coming from commercial advertising, whether it's coming from the people around us, constantly tantalizing this weak part of our nature to try to satiate our need for immediate gratification. So we are facing a huge paradox here, and this is what it is. What gives you short-term pleasure, right? The delight of the M&Ms or the cake or the burger and fries. What gives you short-term pleasure creates long-term pain. Diabetes, heart attack, divorce, bankruptcy. What causes you short-term pain? Going to the gym, saying you're sorry, making the prospecting calls that you said you were going to make. Yes, it does cause pain. Short-term pain. But that short-term pain creates long-term pleasure, long-term lifestyle, long-term success. So you have to understand that you're constantly dealing with this paradox. Short-term pleasure, it's delightful in the mouth, but goes chunky on the thighs, right? It's hard to make the call, but yet your business starts to explode. Understand that you're going to be battling this as you go through this gauntlet of solicitations on your desire for immediate gratification. My mentor that you see here, Jim Rohn, put it into one beautiful sentence, and he said this: you will suffer one of two pains. Now, I haven't even completed the sentence, and already we've got fantastic wisdom, which is what? In life, when you come in naked, scared, and ignorant, you will suffer. You cannot avoid it. Stop trying to avoid suffering. Life is suffering. Bad news. Here's the good news. You get to pick your suffering. The pain of discipline, going to the gym, making the calls, saying you're sorry, drinking the water, saying no to the extra drink. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret, heart attack, divorce, failure, and so forth. And so when facing these choices, understand it's the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And the pain of discipline weighs ounces. It's easy to say you're sorry. It's easy to pick up the phone. It's easy to go and get the workout in. But the pain of regret is what weighs tons.